Hello, my name is Mohammed Kinji. Book number 9 is the most important book in the Iliad. It is the axis, it is the essence, it is the nucleus, it is the core, it is the crux, it's the center, it's the pivot point. It's the book that I think best expresses how the figures in the Iliad understood their own lives, how they understood their relationships with others. It's the book that best expresses the foundation of values on the basis of which the ancient Greeks understood themselves and the world. It's the most interesting book. It's the most, I think, weighted book. And it's the book, I think, that requires the closest analysis. And I'm going to here in this video make use of a phenomenal work of secondary scholarship um, called Ransom, Revenge, and Heroic Identity in the Iliad by Donna F. Wilson. Sometimes you can find one book that is worth 100 times more than 100 others in the world of secondary scholarship. And this book is one of those books. It is truly a gem. And Wilson really does develop a very close and careful analysis of what's really going on in book number 9. And she's not under the illusion that what takes place in this book is in any way related to what you and I, how you and I think of our own lives. So it's the book that I think is most worth spending really intense effort on, and that's what I intend to do in this video. By the end of book number 8, the Achaeans are in a terrible situation. 50,000 Trojan troops are stationed just beyond the ditch that the Achaeans had built, created to defend their camp. In book number 7, we've seen the Achaeans had built a giant wall that protects the ships, which really are backed onto the sea. In front of the wall, there is a ditch that's wide, that's deep, that's long. And inside that ditch, there are stakes that are I don't know, impaled into the ground, rooted into the ground. Makes it very difficult for horses, which the Trojans will need to bring across the ditch. Of course, the incline is not very good for horses, very bad for horses. Maneuverability is very bad when you have stakes everywhere. And then, of course, climbing up. It's a place where the Achaeans can ambush them. But at this point, Hector has led the Trojans on the wings of the power of Zeus, or at least Zeus has provided the wind to lift Hector's wings, to really dominate the later part of book number 8, driving the Achaeans all the way to their ships behind the safety of their fortifications. Again, the wall in front of the camp and then the ditch. So it's nighttime, and the Trojans really are only hours away, it seems, the end of book number 8, from crossing the ditch, breaching the wall, burning the ships, smoking the Achaeans out of the ships, and then massacring the Achaeans once and for all, to put an end to this bloody 9+ year battle, fighting for honor. Book number 9 opens in the following way. So the Trojans held their night watches. Meanwhile, immortal panic, companion of cold terror, gripped the Achaeans as all their best were stricken with grief that passes endurance. What a fascinating opening three lines. The Achaeans, who are seasoned, bloodthirsty warriors, who have sacked cities before, who are on a mission to take the city of Troy by massacring the men, enslaving, raping the women, capturing the children, looting the city, burning it to the ground, and who have survived 9 years of death all around them. These people are gripped with a panic and a terror that is beyond their own endurance. Panic and terror are described here, they're personified as gods. And so here you have a description where the Achaeans are seized. To be seized means to be held captive. There's nothing that they can do about it. The situation is so grave. And now the description continues to describe the hearts of the Achaeans as being troubled, the way the waters of the sea are troubled when strong winds blast from the north and from the west. As two winds rise to shake the sea where the fish swarm, Boreas and Zephyrus, north wind and west, that blow from Thraceward. Thraceward is way to the north of the in mainland Greece. North wind and west that blow from Thraceward, suddenly descending, and the darkened waters gather to crests, and far across the salt water scatters the seaweed, so the heart in each breast of each Achaean was troubled. This description describes capillary waves, those waves that sweep across the water during strong winds. And this nature analogy describes you can say, the psychological state of the Achaeans. And the son of Atreus, stricken at heart with the great sorrow, went among his heralds, the clear-spoken, and told them to summon, calling by name, each man into the assembly. But with no outcry, and he himself was at work with the foremost. And Agamemnon now is described as weeping the way water runs down a spring. They took their seats in assembly dispirited, and Agamemnon stood up before them, shedding tears like a spring dark running, that down the face of a rock impassable drips its dim water. The tears are coming out like rivers. In front of the soldiers, the leader of the expedition is completely broken at this point. He can't withhold his pain. Now, this analogy of water running like springs, dark running down the face of a rock impassable, is used again in book number 24 when Achilles is speaking to the king of Troy, Priam. And at that moment, which I won't discuss at length here, the poet describes Achilles speaking to Priam, and Achilles says to him that Niobe once compared herself to Leto, mother of Apollo. And this angered. What she said was that she had borne more children than Leto. Leto had borne Apollo and Artemis. And Niobe had said that she compared the number of children that she had, because she had 12 children, 6 sons and 6 daughters. And when Apollo and Artemis heard this, they took revenge on Niobe by killing. Apollo killed the 6 sons and Artemis killed the 6 daughters because they were dishonored. And that's the response. You take revenge. And Niobe herself was turned into stone. And the stone was at a river. And the river would run over the stone and the water would run down the face. And that was signifying the pain of Niobe. So Agamemnon here is described in that very same way. And in front of the assembly, he's groaning, we are told. And he speaks to the Argives, and he says the following at line number 17. Friends who are leaders of the Argives and keep their counsel, Zeus, son of Cronos, has caught me badly in bitter futility. The ancient Greek word for futility is ate. It means blind ruin. It means delusion. It means madness. He is hard, who before this time promised me and consented that I might sack strong-walled Ilion and sail homeward. Now he has devised a vile deception and bids me to go back to Argos in dishonor, having lost many of my people. Such is the way it will be pleasing to Zeus, who is too strong, who before now has broken the crests of many cities, and who will break them again, since his power is beyond all others. Come then, do as I say. Let us all be won over. Let us run away with our ships to the beloved land of our fathers, since no longer now shall we capture Troy of the wide ways. These are the exact lines that are mentioned in book number 2, when Agamemnon had the dream, the deceptive dream, the dream that would bring destruction sent by Zeus. Except in book number 2, he mentioned these lines to his men to test them, to make trial of them, to see how, to test their loyalty, and to see how they would respond in being told, we'll never take the city of Troy, Zeus will never give it, and we have to go home in shame and dishonor. Zeus has done this before. He's too strong, and we need to go home. Except now in book number 9, Agamemnon is not making trial of his men. Agamemnon means what he says, and he says what he means. There is no way of taking the city of Troy. They are on the brink of being wiped out. They only have 2 choices at this point. They're behind the safety of their wall, but behind them is the water. So either they fight and in all likelihood die, or they sail home. Now, Diomedes listens to what Agamemnon has just said, and he refers to the time when Diomedes had, when Agamemnon had insulted him. Agamemnon had said that he was worse than his father, and that he kind of lurked in the background. And this happened in book number 4. And Diomedes says to Agamemnon, I was the first of the Danaans whose valor you slighted, and said I was unwarlike and without courage. Again, that happened in book number 4. Agamemnon was trying to rally his leaders, his captains. And Diomedes says, I'm not going home. And if you think that the Achaeans are so unwarlike and so weak and have the hearts of cowards, so be it. If you want to go, you can go. In fact, all of the Achaeans can go. But Sthenelus, his friend, and I will stay here, and we 2 alone will take the city of Troy. And when the army hears this, they burst into shouting, and they are inspired to fight. and they support what Diomedes has said. At this point, Nestor speaks, and he first turns to Diomedes. Son of Tydeus, beyond all others you are strong in battle, and in council also are noblest among all men of your age. Not one man of all the Achaeans will belittle your words, nor speak against them. Yet you have not made complete your argument. Since you are a young man, and could even be my own son, and my youngest born of all, yet still you argue in wisdom with the Argive king, since all you have spoken was spoken fairly. But let me speak, since I can call myself older than you are. Notice how Nestor immediately, like he did in book number 1, he establishes his own claim to time, to honor. You are younger than I am. And now he is going to try to establish his authority to be heard. And he says, let us give way to the darkness of night. This is at line number 65, always using the Lattimore translation. And let us make ready our evening meal, and let the guards severally take their stations by the ditch we have dug outside the ramparts. This I would enjoin upon a young man, but thereafter do you, son of Atreus, take command. Since you are our kingliest, divide a feast among the princes. So Nestor first advises to station Achaean guards by the ditch. We know that beyond the ditch, there are 50,000 Trojan troops. He advises that Agamemnon set a feast for the princes. And then he says at line number 77 or 78, this is the night that will either destroy our army or save it. Okay, everything seems to hang on what happens in the next few hours. So the Achaeans take that counsel, and sentries or watchmen are sent forth. 707, actually, sentinels are stationed where Nestor advised. This is at line number 85. There were 7 leaders of the sentinels, and each leader, we are told, had 100 fighting men. Gripping in their hands the long spears, they took the position in the space between the ditch and the rampart, and there they kindled their fires, and each made ready his supper. So you have the Achaean camp, you have the Achaean wall, you have the watchmen or sentries or guards, and then you have the ditch. Well, they eat and they satisfy their hunger and thirst. And then Nestor speaks. At line number 103, Nestor says, I will speak in the way it seems best to my mind, and no one shall have in his mind any thought that is better than this one, that I have in my mind either now or long before now, ever since that day, illustrious, when you went from the shelter of angered Achilles, taking by force the girl Briseis, against the will of the rest of us, since I, for my part, urged you strongly not to, but you, giving way to your proud heart's anger, dishonored a great man, one whom the immortals honor, since you have taken his prize and keep it. But let us even now think how we can make this good and persuade him with words of supplication and with the gifts of friendship. Okay, from Nestor's point of view, the reason that the Achaeans are in a life or death situation at this moment is that Achilles is not fighting. And Nestor says to Agamemnon, I urged you not to take the girl, Briseis, from Achilles. Of course, we know that in book number 1, Nestor never simply told Agamemnon, I urged you not to take the girl. He told Achilles to listen to the king, since he is lord over more than you rule. He took both sides, telling Agamemnon, don't take the girl, i.e., listen to Achilles, and telling Achilles, listen to the king, Agamemnon, which would mean giving up the girl. So you can see how Nestor is manipulating, representing his own involvement in book number 1 to make it sound like his advice, his counsel, if followed, would have spared the Achaeans from this calamitous predicament. And so he tells Agamemnon, in the lines that I read, let us even now how we can make this good and persuade Achilles with words of supplication and with the gifts of friendship. Line 113, 112, 113. So from Nestor's point of view, the way out of this situation is to persuade Achilles to return to battle with words of supplication. Use words that will serve as supplication. We know that supplication means to present yourself as the inferior to the one whom you present as your superior when you beseech that person or God for favor. And this is the advice that Nestor gives Agamemnon. Now, when Nestor says that the Achaeans should win Achilles over with words of supplication and gifts of friendship, the ancient Greek words that are used for gifts of friendship are dora agana. Dora is the ancient Greek word for gifts. And so we see that Nestor is advising that Agamemnon give gifts. When you give gifts, it is a friendly overture. It is not a threatening overture. It's not an intimidating overture. And it's an overture that one makes to a friend, to one with whom one is on good terms. And so Nestor wants Agamemnon to offer Achilles gifts. Agamemnon replies at line number 115, Aged sir, this was no lie when you spoke of my madness. I was mad. I will not deny it. Worth many fighters is that man whom Zeus in his heart loves, as now he has honored this man and beaten down the Achaean people. But since I was mad in the persuasion of my heart's evil, I'm willing to make all good and give back gifts in abundance. Now, what did Agamemnon tell Nestor? You were right when you spoke of my madness. I was mad. I will not deny it. Now, Nestor never spoke of Agamemnon's madness. Nestor did not tell Agamemnon, you were mad. The ancient Greek word that Agamemnon uses when he speaks of madness is a variant of the form ate, blind delusion or blind ruin. Madness. Agamemnon is implying that the reason that he took Briseis from Achilles is that he was possessed by madness. It wasn't his fault. Madness overtook him. The power of delusion seized him. Agamemnon is exempting himself from culpability. It was not his fault. Nestor never said you were mad. He said, I told you not to do this, which again, we know he did not say or simply say. So the first thing Agamemnon does is protect his own honor by making it appear that he was possessed by a god, Ate, and it wasn't his fault, and he is not culpable for this disaster. Then he says, in the lines that I read, I'm willing to make all good and give back gifts in abundance. Now, Nestor had advised giving back gifts of friendship. Agamemnon says, I'm willing to give back, and the translator has gifts in abundance. But we don't find in the ancient Greek text the word Dora. Dora means gifts. Agamemnon does not say that. He does not say, I will give gifts. So this is a mistranslation. What Agamemnon does say is aparasia apoina. These are the Greek words that Agamemnon uses. Aparasia apoina. That's what Agamemnon says he will give to Achilles. They have been mistranslated as gifts in abundance. What aparasia apoina really means is unlimited ransom. These are the words that are used to describe what Chryses brings to Agamemnon in book number 1, when he brings aparasia apoina in exchange for his daughter, Chryseis. In book number 1, we have seen that Lattimore has mistranslated at one point aparasia apoina as gifts beyond count. Agamemnon is not offered by Chryses gifts beyond count. Gifts are offered in a friendly relation. Chryses comes to Agamemnon in an enemy relation. His city was sacked, or at least he lost his daughter in Thebe when Thebe was sacked. Chryses actually comes from the town Chryse. So it's really critical to see that Agamemnon is not following Nestor's counsel, because when he says he is willing to make all good and give back aparasia apoina, he's indicating that he is going to give unlimited ransom to Achilles. And that's important because you pay a ransom, not gifts, but a ransom to release a captive. And in this case, what Agamemnon wants to pay Achilles is a ransom to release what Achilles is holding captive. That is the army, Agamemnon's time, Agamemnon's honor, and victory. Achilles is at fault. Achilles is holding the Achaeans. Agamemnon, the honor that comes with victory, and victory, hostage. Achilles is the enemy. So Agamemnon is presenting, once again, Achilles as the enemy. You see, a ransom offer, unlike an offer of Dora, gifts, presupposes an enemy relation. It presupposes a situation of hostility. It presupposes a relationship between Agamemnon, in this case, and Achilles, that is not a relationship between friends, but a relationship between enemies. So Agamemnon is not offering any apology. He is offering what an enemy offers another enemy when the enemy that is being offered the ransom has taken something that the one who is giving the ransom believes belongs to him. And so Agamemnon positions himself as the aggrieved party. Agamemnon positions himself as the one to whom Achilles has done something unjust. and he is going to pay a ransom to lay claim to what is rightfully his. Now, you can't see this from the text because the text makes it appear like, not just Lattimore translation, but many other translations, it makes it appear like Agamemnon has accepted Nestor's counsel and is going to make things good by giving Achilles friendly gifts, which implies some kind of apology. No, that's not what Agamemnon is doing. So Agamemnon presents himself at this moment as the savior of the Achaean army. This is the second time he has done this. In book number 1, Agamemnon presented him as the savior of the army when he said that he would return Chryseis to her father. After Calchas had said that the reason the Achaeans are dying, the reason that Apollo has sent the plague to the army, is because Agamemnon refused to return the girl. Agamemnon says, I'm willing to return the girl. I myself desire that my men be safe and not perish. Those were his exact words, if I recall correctly. So, whereas Calchas had indicated Agamemnon is the reason for the calamity, Agamemnon presents himself as the reason for the way out of the calamity, or the only way out of the calamity. And of course, Agamemnon is trying to preserve his time. He's trying to preserve his honor. What happens next? Agamemnon explains or gives an inventory of all the things that he will give to Achilles. He says to the entire assembly that he's going to count off all of the things he will give to Achilles. 7 unfired tripods. A tripod is a 3-legged stand that is used for a number of things in the ancient Greek world. It's a vessel that could be used, it's a stand that could be used for holding a vessel that could be a cooking pot, if it's a small tripod and a small pot, or it could be used as the stand for holding a cauldron. A cauldron is a bathtub. How do you take baths in the ancient world when you don't have electricity? Well, you use fire. And what the ancient Greeks would do is they would take the fire, they would take the stand, they would put the cauldron on the stand, and then they would light a fire underneath the tripod. And so the fire would heat the vessel. To say that the tripods are unfired means that they've never been used over fire. Now, I don't know exactly where the fire was placed, whether it was placed, as part of the tripod, or whether it was underneath the entire tripod where the legs were on the ground. I don't know those details. But 7 unfired tripods, 10 talents weight of gold. 10 talents weight of gold. 1 talent equals what? 57 pounds. 10 talents, 570 pounds of gold. 20 shining cauldrons. 12 horses, strong race competitors who have won prizes in the speed of their feet. These, in ancient Greek, these lines use the word ethlophoros, which means Prize winning. I believe that's the word for prize winning. But these are not your normal horses. These are the elite of the elite. Horses have a very, very short race life. Professional jockeys have only a few years. The horses are very, very young. That man would not be poor in possessions to whom were given all these have won for me, nor be unpossessed of dearly honored gold. Were he given all the prizes these single-foot horses that won from me. And I've already mentioned that single-foot horses are described as single-footed because they have non-cloven hooves. They don't have any toes, split toes. I will give him 7 women of Lesbos, an island, the work of whose hands is blameless, whom when he himself captured strong-founded Lesbos, I chose, and who in their beauty surpassed the races of women. I will give him these. Notice how women, captured women, spoils of war, they have the same status as things, as objects. They're not human beings as you and I understand human beings who have value intrinsically, unlike objects. The captured spoils are possessions, literally, who are in the hands of their captors. The worst lot one could imagine. Even death would be better, in many cases. Agamemnon says among the things he will give back Achilles is Briseis. And he says, to all this, I will swear a great oath that I never entered into her bed and never lay with her, as is natural for human people. It's natural for human people for them to lay in bed with captured spoils for. Look at how sexual relations here are described. The fact that Briseis is a spoil of war, an object, a possession that belongs to her captor. When Agamemnon took Briseis from Achilles, now Briseis belonged to him. And he says, I never laid in bed with her, as is natural between people. It's as though the sexual relations between the captor and the captive is like the sexual relations between any two people. It's stunning. But this is how the ancient Greeks understood sexual relations between people. All these gifts shall be his at once. Now, again, the gifts have already been defined as apoina. So even if the word dora is used here, it's already been defined as ransom. But again, if hereafter, this is at line number 136, 135 onwards, if hereafter the gods grant that we storm and sack this great city of Priam, let Achilles go to his ship and load it deep as he pleases with gold and bronze. when we Achaeans divide the war spoils, and let him choose for himself 20 of the Trojan women who are the loveliest of all after Helen of Argos. And if we come back to Achaean Argos, pride of the tilled land, he may be my son-in-law. I will honor him with Orestes, my growing son, who is brought up there in abundant luxury. Let's stop there for a moment. If we take the city of Troy, Achilles can load his ship as deep as he pleases. If, of course, is hypothetical. Let him choose 20 Trojan women, loveliest after Helen of Argos, because Helen is the possession of Menelaus. She's the wife, but she's also the possession, in the sense that she belongs to him. And if she leaves, there will be hell to pay. Again, Trojan women just described in the same way that you describe any objects, any of the riches that one captures from Troy. So he will be my son-in-law. Since as I have 3 daughters there in my strong-built castle, Chrysothemis and Laodike and Iphianassa, let him lead away the one of these that he likes with no bride price to the house of Peleus. And with the girl, I will grant him a dowry, as many gifts such as no man has ever given with his daughter. I will grant to him 7 citadels. These are like cities, fortresses, strongly settled with their people. Agamemnon mentions the names of these cities that he will give to Achilles. It's kind of strange because they're in the area of Pylos, but Pylos is the kingdom of Nestor, so not exactly sure what's happening here. And men living among them, rich in cattle and rich in sheep flocks, all of these will go with the cities, the citadels that I will give Achilles. Will honor Achilles as if he were a god. All this I will bring to pass to him, Agamemnon says. If he changes from his anger, let him give way. For Hades gives not way and is pitiless. And therefore he among all the gods is most hateful to mortals. And let him yield place to me, inasmuch as I am the kinglier, inasmuch as I can call myself born the elder. Notice how these lines once again confirm that the things that Agamemnon will give to Achilles if he returns back to battle are not friendly overtures, and they are not admissions that Agamemnon is the weaker, and they are not consistent with words of supplication. They are not acts of supplication. Agamemnon says explicitly in the lines that I read, all this I will bring to pass for him. I am the giver, he will be the receiver. Let him give way. To give way means to yield. It means to bend. It means to be broken. It means to be broken the way a wild horse is broken by the one who is domesticating that horse. Achilles is like a wild horse, and he must be domesticated. He must give way. He must yield. He must be subdued. He must be broken beneath the yoke. For Hades gives not way and is pitiless. And everyone hates Hades. Why? Because Hades gives no way. Everyone will die. Hades is the underworld. Everyone will die. And so Achilles must not be like the one whom everyone hates. If Achilles doesn't yield to me, he will be like the one whom everyone hates, like Hades, in not giving way. And let him yield place to me. Again, we get that language. Another translation reads, let him bow down to me, considering that I hold higher rank. Here it says, let him yield place to me, inasmuch as I'm the kinglier. They carry the same meaning, but I am the greater. That's why Achilles should yield. Agamemnon is saying the exact opposite of what it might appear. Agamemnon is not offering an apology at all. On the contrary, he is reconfirming that he is the greater. And that's why Achilles must give way. Not because Agamemnon has done anything wrong for which he must make reparation. Even tactically wrong. There is no moral wrong here. As I mentioned, the idea of moral good and evil does not exist in the Iliad. So when I speak about wrong, or when I speak about evil, or when I speak about terms they carry the same meaning, I'm speaking about what is relative to the situation, not moral evil, but tactical evil, or an evil for us, or something that had brought bad fortune, or something like that. Something that has put us in this situation, which we do not want. Now, Nestor says to Agamemnon at this point, at line number 165 onwards, that they should send an embassy to Achilles' ships. And Nestor says, come, let us choose and send some men who in all speed will go to the shelter of Achilles, the son of Peleus. And Nestor says Phoinix should go. At line number 168, Phoinix was Achilles' tutor, and he was like Achilles, as we will see, second father. And after him take Aias, the great. This is the greater Aias. This is the son of Telamon. This is the fighter who is the second strongest in the entire army, if you include Achilles. So clearly there will be an affinity there. Aias has high time, he has high honor, high value within the army. And brilliant Odysseus. Odysseus is the cunning one. Odysseus is a master manipulator. Odysseus is very tactically sound with his words. So if this is going to be a war of words, let us win him with words of supplication. So this is going to be the words of supplication will be used as weapons to win Achilles into battle, or to defeat Achilles' recalcitrance or obstinacy. And together with these three, Phoenix, Aias, and Odysseus, two heralds, Odius and Eurybates. Those names are given at 170. At line number 179, Nestor gave them much instruction, looking eagerly at each, and most of all at Odysseus, to try hard so that they might win over the blameless Peleon, right? They have to win over the son of Peleus. This is a battle where there will be a winner and there will be a loser. And the embassy arrives at Achilles' ships. Line number 185. Now they came beside the shelters and ships of the Myrmidons. The Myrmidons are Achilles' people. And they found Achilles delighting his heart in a lyre, a musical instrument that's often associated with Apollo too. Clear sounding, splendid and carefully wrought, with a bridge of silver upon it, which he won out of the spoils when he ruined Eetion city, that's Thebe, from where he captured Briseis. With this he was pleasuring his heart and singing of men's fame. So Achilles is not fighting, we know that, but he is still completely consumed with the idea of honor, winning honor, battle, spoils. He is using a lyre which is a spoil of war that he captured from Thebe to sing about spoils of war, to sing about honor, to sing about glory, to sing about victory in battle. All of these things are associated with singing of men's fame, right? That's won on the battlefield. He said that he would leave. He told Agamemnon in book number 1 that he's going back to Phthia. He never does. Now, this is how he greets the embassy. Such a critical moment in the Iliad, the embassy meeting with Achilles. He says at line number 197, "Welcome, you are my friends who have come, and greatly I need you." Now, the ancient Greek can also be interpreted as, "So you have great need of me." So greatly I need you is one interpretation. Greatly you have need of me is another interpretation. Both are consistent with the Greek. Who even to this in my anger are dearest of all the Achaeans. Notice how he refers to his men. These are the people whom he included in the men whom he wanted destroyed in book number 1. He didn't say he wants Hector to slaughter the Achaeans, excepting Odysseus, Phoinix, and Aias. These are included in the people whom he wants Hector to kill. We will see what happens that confirms that idea. So again, don't get caught up in the terminology that is used in the Iliad. You need to really think about the concepts. What do these terms mean? What meanings do these terms carry? That's where communication happens. And that's where real reading happens, and that's where real analysis happens. That's where real understanding happens. Of course, you need the letter. You need to read it very carefully. But the meaning of the letter is not given in the meaning that we ascribe to it. We have to let the text breathe and explicate for us the meaning of the terms that it uses. So brilliantly Achilles spoke at line number 199. So brilliant Achilles spoke and guided them forward and caused them to sit down on couches with purple coverlets. Purple was a very expensive dye in the ancient world and quite befitting the greatest warrior in the Achaean side to have purple coverlets. And at once called over to Patroclus, his companion, his closest companion, who was not far from him, son of Menoetius, set up a mixing bowl that is bigger, and mix a stronger drink, and make ready a cup for each man, since these who have come beneath my roof are the men that I love best. So again, the language that Achilles uses appears to suggest that he has a very close relationship with these people. But we will see by the end of this book, he does not exempt them from death in his wish that Hector massacres the Achaeans to give him honor, to give Achilles honor. While they eat the chine of a fatted pig. Chine is the backbone. They spit, roast, barbecue this meat, and they satisfy their hunger. At line number 222, but when they had put aside their desire for eating and drinking, Aias nodded to Phoinix, and brilliant Odysseus saw it, and filled a cup with wine, and lifted it to Achilles. Now, what are these lines telling you? They're communicating to you that this is a highly planned, highly orchestrated, highly tactical, pre-discussed, pre-practiced, pre-arranged, pre-rehearsed meeting. At least the involvement of the Achaeans will have been practiced beforehand, because Aias nods to Phoenix, we are told. Brilliant Odysseus sees it, and then he speaks. So that's a signal, that's a cue that Odysseus is looking for. And Odysseus now is going to make his pitch to bring Achilles, to win Achilles back into battle. I need to have a drink of water, so I'm going to take a short break and then come back. Odysseus tells Achilles that he hasn't come to eat. At line number 228 onwards, it is not the desirable feast we think of, but a trouble all too great, beloved of Zeus, that we look on and are afraid. There is doubt if we save our strong-benched vessels, or if they will be destroyed unless you put on your war strength. The Trojans in their pride with their far-renowned companions have set up an encampment close by the ships and the rampart. And lit many fires along their army, and think no longer of being held, but rather to drive in upon the black ships. And Zeus, son of Cronos, lightens upon their right hand. Those are signs of lightning, showing the importance of good, while Hector, in the huge pride of his strength, rages irresistibly, reliant on Zeus, and gives way to no one. Neither God nor man, but the strong fury has descended upon him. He prays now that the divine dawn will show most quickly, since he threatens to shear the uttermost horns from the ship's sterns, to light the ships themselves with ravening fire, and to cut down the Achaeans themselves as they stir from the smoke beside them. All this I fear terribly in my heart, lest immortals accomplish all these threats, unless for us it be destiny to die here in Troy, far away from horse pasturing Argos. Up then, if you are minded, late though it be, to rescue the afflicted sons of the Achaeans from the Trojan onslaught. It will be an affliction to you hereafter. There will be no remedy found to heal the evil thing when it has been done. No, beforehand take thought to beat the evil day aside from the Danaans. Let's stop there for a second. If you do not enter the battle and save us from the affliction, you will be afflicted. This is a silent threat. Odysseus is now going to call upon Achilles' father, Peleus, and what Peleus had told him, calling upon his duty to listen to the counsel of his father. Dear friend, surely thus your father Peleus advised you that day when he sent you away to Agamemnon from Phthia. My child, for the matter of strength, Athena and Hera will give it if it be their will, but be it yours to hold fast in your bosom the anger of a proud heart. For consideration is better. Keep from the bad complication of quarrel, and all the more for this the Argives will honor you, both their younger men and their elders. So the old man advised you, but you have forgotten. Yet even now, stop and give way from the anger that hurts the heart. Agamemnon offers you worthy recompense if you change from your anger. What is Odysseus telling Achilles? Restrain yourself. Don't get consumed with the anger. Your father warned you about this. Hold fast the anger of a proud heart. Now, elsewhere in Odysseus' speech, Odysseus is going to try to inflame Achilles' anger. There, he's going to call upon Hector and how Achilles has how necessity to kill Hector because Hector has dishonored him. But here, tactically, he first starts by indicating that he should hold back his anger. And then he says, Agamemnon offers you worthy recompense at line number 261. Odysseus frames Agamemnon's offer, which we know is aparasia apoina, unlimited ransom. He frames it as worthy recompense. And the ancient Greek words that have been translated as worthy recompense are axiadora. Yes, Odysseus uses the word dora. He follows Nestor's counsel. Nestor had advised Agamemnon to give Achilles dora agana, gifts of friendship. Odysseus says to Achilles directly, Agamemnon offers you axiadora, worthy gifts, translated as worthy recompense. He lies to Achilles. Agamemnon did not tell the assembly that he would give Achilles axiadora. He defined dora as apoina, as payment to the enemy who must yield to him because he is the kinglier. For a ransom payment, Achilles must yield because the one who's paying the ransom is kinglier and because what he has taken from Agamemnon rightfully belongs to him. So why does Odysseus tell Achilles that he's offering axiadora and not aparasia apoina? Well, because he doesn't want to inflame Achilles' anger. He doesn't want Achilles to withdraw further from battle. He wants to persuade Achilles to return to battle. And of course, an offer of apoina, because it signifies an enemy relation, a hostile relation, is not going to do that. So Odysseus's mission is to persuade Achilles to return to war. But of course, we will see that Achilles' anger, in fact, is inflamed when he hears what Odysseus says and is not calmed. And then we will see that Achilles does not accept Odysseus's representation of Agamemnon's offer. But Odysseus continues at line number 262. Come then, if you will, listen to me while I count for you all the gifts in a shelter that Agamemnon has promised. And Odysseus reports to Achilles exactly what Agamemnon said that he would give: the 7 unfired tripods, the 10 talents weight of gold, the 20 shining cauldrons, the 12 prize-winning horses, the women of Lesbos. One second, somebody's knocking at my door. So Odysseus reports everything that Agamemnon had offered. I think I left off with the women of Lesbos, but including Briseis and the invitation to load up his ship as deep as he pleases if, conditionally, Troy is ever taken, the 20 Trojan women, he can be a son-in-law, and no bride price. The dowry that Agamemnon would give would be unmatched. 7 citadels, strongly settled with the populations who would worship Achilles as though he was a god. And then he says this at line number 295. So I'm actually going to just read the end part of Odysseus's report. At line number maybe 299. All this he will bring to pass for you if you change from your anger. But if the son of Atreus is too much hated in your heart, himself and his gifts, at least take pity on all the other Achaeans who are afflicted along the host and will honor you as a god. You may win very great glory among them, for now you might kill Hector, since he would come very close to you with a wicked fury upon him, since he thinks there's not his equal among the rest of the Danaans the ships carried hither. This is such an important moment. When Agamemnon had told the people, his men, what he would give to Achilles, he says, all this I will bring to pass for him if he changes from his anger. And Odysseus reports up to that point. But what Agamemnon said after that was, let him give way. Of the translation read, let him be subdued. For Hades gives not way and is pitiless, and therefore he among all the gods is most hateful to mortals. And let him yield place to me, inasmuch as I'm the kinglier, inasmuch as I can call myself born the elder. Odysseus doesn't mention these things to Achilles. Odysseus deliberately leaves these things out because he knows that this would inflame Achilles' anger and drives him further into his anger, which led to his withdrawal from battle. So you see that Odysseus is tactically avoiding saying things. Odysseus is tactically avoiding saying things to Achilles that will inflame his anger in the wrong way. So he leaves those lines out, the lines that suggest that Achilles is like a wild horse that needs to be tamed, that needs to be subdued, that needs to yield to his master, the horse trainer, Agamemnon. He leaves those lines out, and then he actually inflames Achilles' anger. He tells him that Hector thinks that there's no one that is his equal, and think of how close Hector would be to you. Think of how you might kill Hector. So he avoids inflaming Achilles' anger in a way that will not suit the purposes of the embassy, and he inflames the anger of Achilles in ways that he thinks will suit the purposes of the embassy. And Achilles now responds to Odysseus. He says at line 3, maybe I'll start at 309. Son of Laertes and seed of Zeus, resourceful Odysseus, without consideration for you, I must make my answer the way I think. and the way it will be accomplished, that you may not come one after another and sit by me and speak softly. For as I detest the doorways of death, I detest that man who hides one thing in the depths of his heart and speaks forth another. But I will speak to you in the way that seems best to me. Look at what Achilles has said. I detest that man who hides one thing in his heart and speaks forth something else. What does that mean? Is he implying that he thinks Odysseus is deceiving him? That he hides one thing in his heart and is saying forth something else? Or is he implying that he thinks that Agamemnon is deceiving him, hiding in his heart one thing and saying forth something else? Or is he implying that he will not deceive anyone, that he will say what is in his heart to the embassy? It's not clear whether he's referring to Odysseus, Agamemnon, or warning them that he is not going to hide what he is going to tell them. And he says, neither do I think the son of Atreus, Agamemnon, will persuade me. This is at 3:15. Nor the rest of the Danaans, since there was no gratitude given for fighting incessantly forever against your enemies. Fate is the same for the man who holds back, the same for if he fights hard. We are all held in a single honor, the brave with the weaklings. Of course, isn't that what dishonors Achilles? That Agamemnon does not recognize him as the greatest of the Achaeans? When he says that we're all held in the same honor, that actually offends him. He doesn't want to be held in the same honor as the weaklings. He doesn't want to be held in the same honor with the people who do not fight in battle, because his identity, his value comes in his warcraft. A man dies still if he has done nothing as one who has done much. Nothing is won for me now that my heart has gone through its afflictions. We've seen that word affliction repeated many times. The Achaeans are afflicted. Odysseus says, if you, Achilles, don't help us, you will be afflicted. Achilles says now that his heart has gone through its afflictions. He has been dishonored. But here, I think the afflictions refer to being always in battle, because he says, in forever setting my heart on the hazard of battle. What follows now in Achilles' response is remarkable. Achilles is going to compare himself to a mother bird that, in sacking cities, is like a mother bird that searches for food to give to its young or to her young. And how Achilles is always the one who provides, and the young, the army, including Agamemnon, just take, and they never give anything in return. It's a stunning analogy. For as to her unwinged young ones, the mother bird brings back morsels wherever she can find them, but as for herself, it is suffering. Such was I, as I lay through all the many nights unsleeping, such as I wore through the bloody days of the fighting, striving with warriors for the sake of these men's women. But I say that I have stormed from my ships 12 cities of men, and by land 11 more through the generous Troad. From all these we took forth treasures, goodly and numerous, and we would bring them back and give them to Agamemnon, Atreus' son, while he, waiting back beside the swift ships, would take them and distribute them little by little and keep many. All the other prizes of honor he gave the great men and the princes are held fast by them, but from me alone of all the Achaeans he has taken and keeps the bride of my heart. Let him lie beside her then and be happy. Yet why must the Argives fight with the Trojans? And why was it that the son of Atreus assembled and led here these people? Was it not for the sake of lovely-haired Helen? Are the sons of Atreus alone among mortal men the ones who love their wives? Since any who is a good man and careful loves her, who is his own and cares for her, even as I now love this one from my heart, though it was my spear that won her. What an incredible speech by Achilles. So from Achilles' point of view, when he goes to different cities and massacres the male population, rapes the women, takes the women and children as slaves, loots the entire city of all of its valuables, that for Achilles is analogous to a mother bird that forages for food to give to her young in order for them to survive. Sacking cities is like food. It satisfies the rapacious hunger of the warrior. There is no moral issue with going into cities and annihilating it for your self-interest or for your benefit. It's not a moral issue at all. It's like foraging for food when you are starving. Your hunger is satisfied with honor. And in the image of nature, the strong do what they want and the weak suffer what they must. That is what one learns when one understands one life in the likeness of nature. So it is striking to see that there is a complete absence of any, what you and I would call, moral framework in the Iliad. It simply does not exist. Achilles is praised. He is called by Andromache brilliant Achilles when she is speaking to Hector, knowing that Achilles has wiped out her family. She's lost her father to him. She lost her 7 brothers to him. And she lost her mother after he released her for ransom. More than this, Achilles says that Briseis is the bride of my heart, he says. Agamemnon has taken the bride of my heart. I loved this one from my heart, he says, even though it was my spear that won her. What does love mean? When one is speaking, when Achilles is speaking about a war prize, what does he love? He's taken away everything that mattered to her, her family, her kingdom, her friendships, her homeland. And she is a spoil of war. And I loved this one from my heart. What does it mean? I loved this one from my heart. What does he love? Well, what he loves is what she represents. And what she represents is a portion of his value, a portion of his time. She is a geros. She is a war prize to him. When he speaks about her as bride of my heart, the ancient Greek words that are used, that have been translated as bride of my heart, are alokos thumares. Those are the ancient Greek words, which mean bedmate dear to heart. Bedmate dear to heart. It doesn't carry the connotations that you would associate with the highly charged terms, bride of my heart. She is a bedmate. She is a war prize to him. Anyone who is a good man and careful loves her, who is his own, and cares for her, right? Anyone who is a good man loves his wife, his bride, and cares for her. And yet, why doesn't this translate into a moral principle? Why doesn't this translate into a universal moral principle? If one today, for you and me, thinks any human being loves his wife and cares for her, that directly translates into the fact that I do not have the right to do harm to such a sacred relationship. But that's not the case here. It doesn't translate into any moral principle of action. The consequence of anyone who is a good man, loves her and cares for her, who is his bride or his wife, is that I have the right to take her. So really striking, because again, you see that the logic of the text runs in a completely contrary direction to what the reader expects in the text. And that is another reminder that the values that the reader brings to the text is completely different from the values in the text. It's so incredibly eye-opening. Achilles continues at about 344. Now that he has deceived me and taken from my hands my prize of honor. That's how he refers to Briseis. My prize of honor. The ancient Greek word is geras. Let him try me no more. I know him well. He will not persuade me. Let him take counsel with you, Odysseus, and the rest of the princes, how to fight the ravening fire away from his vessels. Indeed, there has been much hard work done even without me. He has built himself a wall and driven a ditch about it, making it great and wide, and fixed the sharp stakes inside of it. Yet even so, he cannot hold the strength of manslaughtering Hector. And when I was fighting among the Achaeans, Hector would not drive his attack beyond the wall's shelter, but would come forth only so far as the Scaean gates and the oak tree. There once he endured me alone and barely escaped my onslaught, but now I am unwilling to fight against brilliant Hector. Tomorrow, when I have sacrificed to Zeus and to all the gods, and unloaded well my ships, and rowed out onto the salt water, you will see, if you have a mind to it, and if it concerns you, my ships in the dawn at sea on the Hellespont, where the fish swarm, and my men manning them with goodwill to row. If the glorious shaker of the earth, that's Poseidon, should grant us a favoring passage on the third day thereafter, we might raise generous Phthia. There you get Achilles indicating that he's going to go home, he's going to reach home with clement weather, favorable weather. He's going to reach home in 3 days. But of course, we know that Achilles, well, let me repeat, Achilles does not go home because his honor depends on Agamemnon paying for what he did. 3 days journey from Troy to the mainland. Achilles continues. I have many possessions there that I left behind when I came here on this desperate venture. From here there is more gold. From here there is more gold and red bronze and fair-girdled women and gray iron I will take back. Again, women are clumped as having the same status as things like gold and bronze and iron. All that was allotted to me. But my prize, he who gave it, powerful Agamemnon, son of Atreus, has taken it back again outrageously. What was outrageous about Agamemnon taking Achilles' prize? They share exactly the same values. What was outrageous is that Agamemnon desires a prize just as much as Achilles desires a prize. What is outrageous is that Agamemnon thinks that he is the greatest of the Achaeans and not that Achilles is the greatest of the Achaeans. But both men agree, we've talked about this, that the greatest deserve the greatest. The greatest warriors deserve the greatest prizes, or the greatest in the army, even positionally, deserve the greatest prizes. The only question is who is the greatest, not whether the greatest deserve the greatest prizes. Go back and proclaim to him all that I tell you openly, so other Achaeans may turn against him in anger, if he hopes yet one more time to swindle some other Danaan. Wrapped as he is forever in shamelessness, yet he would not, bold as a dog though he be, dare look at my face any longer. I will join with him in no counsel and in no action. He cheated me, and he did me hurt. Let him not beguile me with words again. This is enough for him. Let him of his own will be damned, since Zeus of the councils has taken his wits away from him. I hate his gifts. I hold him light as the strip of a splinter. He's of no account to me. Not if he gave me 10 times as much and 20 times over as he possesses now. Not if more should come to him from elsewhere, or gave all that is brought into Orchomenos, all that is brought into Thebes of Egypt, where the greatest possessions lie up in houses. Thebes of the 100 gates, where through each of its gates 200 fighting men come forth to war with horses and chariots. Not if he gave me gifts as many as the sand or the dust is, not even so would Agamemnon have his way with my spirit, until he has made good to me all this heart-rending insolence. You can see that what Achilles does not want is gifts, any amount of gifts, as sufficient compensation for what Agamemnon has done to him. What he wants from Agamemnon is he wants Agamemnon to pay for what he did. Now, why does Achilles reject Agamemnon's gifts? Well, one of the reasons might be that when if Odysseus believes that Agamemnon is offering him gifts, as Odysseus reported to him, because he wasn't there when Agamemnon said that he would be giving Achilles a poina, a ransom, the gifts would imply that they belong to Agamemnon, that Agamemnon owns them. And Achilles would be the receiver of these gifts. Achilles rejects being he takes offense at being the provider, but Achilles also resents being the one who receives, because it puts Achilles in a dependent position. And so payment for the wrong that he did is not the same as gifts. Achilles wants Agamemnon to pay. We also, in Achilles' speech, have some clue as to the dating of the Iliad, because the period of opulence, of wealth, of Thebes of Egypt, modern day Luxor, was in the late 8th century, around 715 BCE, to just about the midpoint of the 7th century BCE, from 715 to 663 BCE. And if Achilles is referring here to the wealth of this place in Egypt, it would suggest that the Iliad was written around this time, or composed, sorry, around this time. It wasn't written until much later, after it was, again, part of this oral tradition, which we've already discussed, where the Iliad was sung. So the embassy has 3 principal emissaries: Odysseus, Phoinix, and Aias, and Odysseus has failed. Before we turn to the next speaker, Achilles continues, and he says something that's very important, that once again points to Achilles' miserable lot in life. We know in book number 1 that he was judged by his mother to have the most pitiable and lamentable existence. And here in Achilles' speech, we have an indication of why. He says at line number 410, "My mother Thetis, the goddess of the silver feet, tells me I carry 2 sorts of destiny towards the day of my death. Either if I stay here and fight beside the city of the Trojans, my return home is gone, but my glory shall be everlasting. But if I return home to the beloved land of my fathers, the excellence of my glory is gone, but there will be a long life left for me, and my end in death will not come to me quickly." 2 possible lives for Achilles. Either he wins glory, but he dies, or he returns home without glory and he lives. Just think about these 2 alternatives. What is glory? The ancient Greek word for glory is kleos. Kleos is how one is spoken about out loud after one has died. And we've talked about how kleos is the hero's goal, because it offers him the only kind of immortality of which he is capable of receiving, the being spoken about out loud in song after he has died. So either Achilles wins glory in Troy and dies, or he returns home in shame and humiliation, but lives a long life. Notice that Achilles does not mention any possibility of winning glory in life. The price for glory is death. So either you attain your goal, but you don't live to enjoy it, or you live and you never attain your goal. There is no possibility of attaining your goal and living to be with it. Phoinix is the next emissary to speak. Phoinix, we will see, is Achilles' like Achilles' second father. He tutored Achilles when he was young. He says, we will see, that he taught Achilles everything that he knows. And in the absence of Peleus, he was the one who raised Achilles. Now, Phoenix begins his attempt to win Achilles by bursting into tears. We are told that he spoke out in a storm burst of tears, line number 432 and 433. This is what Phoenix says. 434. If it is going home, glorious Achilles, you ponder in your heart and are utterly unwilling to drive the obliterating fire from the fast ships, since anger has descended on your spirit, how then shall I, dear child, be left in this place behind you all alone? Peleus, the aged horseman, sent me forth with you on that day when he sent you from Phthia to Agamemnon, a mere child, who knew nothing yet of the joining of battle, nor of debate where men are made preeminent, right? Two areas where men are made preeminent. Either on the battlefield, that's where you win honor, or at the assembly, using speech in debate. Your father, Peleus, sent me forth with you to Agamemnon. He is reminding Achilles what Odysseus tried to remind Achilles of. The advice, whether explicit or implicit, that Peleus gave his son. If Achilles has duty to his father, he has duty, Phoenix wants Achilles to believe, to Phoenix, because it was his father who sent Achilles with Phoenix to battle. Therefore, he sent me along with you to teach you all of these matters, to make you a speaker of words and a doer, and one accomplished in action, right? A doer of deeds. Therefore, apart from you, dear child, I would not be willing to be left behind, not were the God in person to promise he would scale away my old age and make me a young man blossoming, as I was that time when I first left Hellas, the land of fair women, running from the hatred of Orminos' son, Amintor, my father, who hated me for the sake of fair-haired mistress. For he made love to her himself and dishonored his own wife, my mother, who was forever taking my knees and entreating me to lie with this mistress instead, so that she would hate the old man. Phoenix is telling Achilles the story of how he was cast out of his own family and arrived at Phthia, where Peleus took him in. And the story that he will tell is that his father was had a mistress, and his mother wanted to break up this bond between the father and the mistress. And his mother told Phoenix, Phoenix will say, that, or asked him or begged him to sleep with this mistress. And he did. But when he did, the father, upon learning of this, cursed Phoenix never to have children of his own. And this is what Phoenix says. At line 451, my mother, who was forever taking my knees and entreating me to lie with this mistress instead, so that she would hate the old man, I was persuaded and I did it. And my father, when he heard of it, straightway called down his curses and invoked against me the dreadful Furies, the goddesses of vengeance, that I might never have any son born of my seed, to dandle on my knees. And the divinities, Zeus of the underworld and Persephone, the honored goddess, accomplished his curses. Then I took it into my mind to cut him down with the sharp bronze. Phoinix says that he wanted to kill his father when he learned of this, of these curses. But some one of the immortals checked my anger. And, he was prevented. He didn't want to be called a patricide, a father killer. But now no more could the heart in my breast be ruled entirely to reign still among these halls when my father was angered. Rather, it was the many kinsmen and cousins about me who held me closed in the house with supplications repeated, and slaughtered fat sheep in their numbers, and shambling horn-curbed cattle, and numerous swine with the fat abundant upon them were singed and stretched out across the flame of Hephaestus, and much wine was drunk that was stored in the jars of the old man. 9 nights they slept night long in their places beside me. Phoinix wanted to escape the family home, or his father's home, after his father cursed him, but the family members would not let him go. They were offering sacrifices and they were supplicating the gods. For 9 nights, they slept beside Phoinix, and they kept up an interchange of watches, and the fire was never put out. One below the gate of the strong closed courtyard, and one in the antechamber before the doors of the bedroom. But when the 10th night came, Phoinix says, when the 10th night had come to me in its darkness, then I broke the close compacted doors of the chamber and got away, and overleapt the fence of the courtyard, lightly unnoticed by the guarding men and the women servants. Then I fled far away through the wide spaces of Hellas and came as far as generous Phthia. And when Phoinix says that he escaped from his father's home and he arrived in Phthia, Peleus accepted me, and he accepted Phoinix as a father loves his son. At line number 483, he made me a rich man, Phoinix says, and granted me many people, and I lived, lord over the Dolopes in remotest Phthia. And godlike Achilles, I made you all that you are now, and I loved you out of my heart. Just pounding in Achilles' heart the idea that Achilles owes him, that Achilles is indebted to him. He's indebted to him as he would be to his father, because Phoinix was his father. He taught him everything that he knew. And he reminds Achilles at the time when Achilles was feeding, and how, as a child, Phoinix would cut little pieces of meat for Achilles, and how he would hold the wine for Achilles to drink, and how Achilles would spit up the wine and soak Phoenix's shirt. And he says at 492, so I've suffered much through you, and have had much trouble, thinking always how the gods would not bring to birth any children of my own. You are like my only child, the son I never could have. So that it was you, God like Achilles, I made my own child, so that someday you might keep hard affliction from me. Again, we get that word. This is what a son ought to do. A son ought to protect the father. A son ought to keep the father safe. Then Achilles, he says, beat down your great anger. It is not yours to have a pitiless heart. The very immortals can be moved. Their virtue and honor and strength are greater than ours are. And yet with sacrifices and offerings for endearment, with libations and with savor, men turn back even the immortals in supplication when any man does wrong and transgresses. This is such an incredibly interesting passage. Even the immortals, even the gods, Phoenix is telling Achilles, they can be moved. They can be moved by supplications. When mortals supplicate the gods, when they offer sacrifices, when they offer libations, they change the minds even of angry gods. When mortals do wrong and transgress, they can offer sacrifices and they can offer libations and they can offer supplications, and the gods are moved. He is implying to Achilles that Agamemnon is like a mortal who is offering supplications and sacrifices and libations to a god. He's implying that Agamemnon's offer of apeiresia apoina is like sacrifices that are given to a god. He misrepresents Agamemnon's offer completely. He makes it sound like Agamemnon is supplicating Achilles, that Agamemnon is offering sacrifices to Achilles. Agamemnon never said that he was doing any of that. But if that's not enough, Phoenix goes on. He says, for there are also the spirits of prayer, the daughters of great Zeus, and they are lame of their feet and wrinkled and cast their eyes sidelong, who toil on their way, left far behind by the spirit of ruin. And the spirit of ruin, that's Ate. That's the god, delusion, ruin, blind ruin. But she, ruin, is strong and sound on her feet, and therefore far outruns all prayers, and wins into every country to force men astray, and the prayers follow as healers after her. If a man venerates these daughters of Zeus as they draw near, such a man, they bring great advantage and hear his entreaty. But if a man shall deny these prayers and stubbornly with a harsh word refuse, they go to Zeus, son of Cronos, in supplication that ruin may overtake this man, that he be hurt and punished. So Achilles, grant you also that Zeus's daughters be given their honor. Phoenix now is representing Agamemnon's offer of apeiresia apoina, unlimited ransom, as like prayers. Again, he's misrepresenting Agamemnon as being like a mortal who is praying to a god. And not only that, but Phoenix is threatening Achilles. If you do not honor the prayers go to Zeus, and they ask that Zeus punish the man. That ruin overtake this man, and that he be punished. So now Phoenix is threatening Achilles. Line number 515. Since were he, Agamemnon, not bringing gifts, the ancient Greek word there is Dora. Phoenix explicitly at line 515 communicates to Achilles that Agamemnon is offering Dora, gifts. He follows Nestor, he follows Odysseus, and misrepresents Agamemnon's offer as gifts. Since were he not bringing gifts and naming still more hereafter Atreus' son, were he to remain still swollen with rancor, even I would not bid you throw your anger aside, nor defend the Argives, though they needed you sorely. But see now, he offers you much more straightway, and has promised you more hereafter. He has sent the best men to you to supplicate you, choosing them out of the Achaean host, those who to you yourself are the dearest of all the Argives. You yourself, Achilles, have said that we are the dearest of all the Argives. You yourself have said that we are the ones that you love best. And were he not sending you the best, and were he not sending gifts, even I would not bid you to throw away your anger. Do not you make vain their argument, nor their footsteps, though before this one could not blame your anger. So Phoinix follows Nestor, and he follows Odysseus in misrepresenting Agamemnon's offer of apeiresia poina as gifts. He does this at line number 515, and we will see he will do that also at line number 602. But so far, we see that Phoinix first reminds Achilles of how it was Achilles' own father, Peleus, who trusted him, Phoinix, to be Achilles' teacher when Achilles was a mere child, and how Phoinix was like a second father to Achilles, whom he tells Achilles made you all that you are now and loved you out of my heart. Then he frames Agamemnon's offer of apeiresia poina as Dora, gifts. Look at what he does next. He will tell a story to Achilles about a war that is meant to parallel Achilles' current situation. And he is going to draw a parallel. This is a remarkable moment in book number 9. Phoinix says at line number 524, he's going to now tell a story. Thus it was in the old days also, the deeds that we hear of from great men, when the swelling anger descended upon them, the heroes would take gifts. They would listen and be persuaded. For I remember this action of old. It is not a new thing, and how it went. You are all my friends. I will tell it among you. He will now tell the story of the war between the Curetes and the Aetolians, and how the prince of the Aetolians, Meleagros, was the great hero, and how Meleagros became angry, and how Meleagros withdrew from battle, and how so many people supplicated him, begging him to come back into battle, but he refused. And what happened next? Clearly, he's going to draw a comparison between Achilles and Meleagros. The Curetes and the steadfast Aetolians were fighting and slaughtering one another about the city of Calydon. That's in the eastern part of Greece, central Greece, approximately. There was a war between the Curetes and the Aetolians in the city of Calydon. Aetolians were trying to defend the city. The Curetes were trying to take the city. The Aetolians were in lovely Calydon's defense, the Curetes furious to storm and sack it in war. For Artemis, she of the golden chair, had driven this evil upon them, angered that Oeneus had not given the pride of the orchards to her, first fruits. The rest of the gods were given due sacrifice, but alone to this daughter of great Zeus he had given nothing. Okay, now we see why the war had erupted, because the goddess Artemis was angry. She was dishonored by the king, Oeneus, and she brought war upon the city. He had forgotten or had not thought in his hard delusion, and in wrath at his whole mighty line, the lady of arrows, Artemis, sent upon them the fierce wild boar with the shining teeth, who after the way of his kind did much evil to the orchards of Oeneus. For he ripped up the whole tall trees from the ground and scattered them headlong, roots and all, even to the very flowers of the orchard. The son of Oeneus killed this boar. Who was the son of Oeneus? Meleagros. He killed the boar that Artemis had sent, assembling together many hunting men out of numerous cities with their hounds, since the boar might not have been killed by a few men. So huge was he, and had put many men on the sad fire for burning. But the goddess again made a great stir of anger and crying battle over the head of the boar and the bristling boar's hide. So after Meleagros, the prince, killed the boar, Artemis became even angrier. And the goddess again made a great stir of anger and crying battle over the head of the boar and the bristling boar's hide between Curetes and the high-hearted Aetolians. That's why the war was being fought. It's just a very simple reminder of how, in fact, the human being cannot escape doom. Because whenever a god is angry, the human being will suffer for it. And whenever he tries to prevent or mitigate the effects of that anger, he will have to pay even more. Well, when Meleagros was fighting in this war, things were going very well for the Aetolians. Phoinix says at line number 549, so long as Meleagros, lover of battle, stayed in the fighting, it went the worst for the Curetes, and they could not even hold their ground outside the wall, though there were so many. But when the anger came upon Meleagros, such anger as well as in the hearts of others also, though their minds are careful, he, in the wrath of his heart, against his own mother, Althea, lay apart with his wedded bride, Cleopatra the lovely, daughter of sweet-stepping Marpessa. I'm jumping a little bit. The story that Phoinix will tell is that Meleagros killed his uncle. And when he killed his uncle, his mother cursed him. His mother was Althea. And Phoinix says at line number 566, raging by reason of his mother's curses, which she called down from the gods upon him in deep grief for the death of her brother. Her brother would be Meleagros' uncle, so it sounds like he killed his uncle. His mother cursed him, and when his mother cursed him, many times beating with her hands on the earth abundant, she called on Hades and on honored Persephone, lying at length along the ground. And the tears were wet on her bosom to give death to her son. And Irenues, where the Furies, the mist walking, she of the heart without pity, heard her out of the dark places, and presently there was thunder about the gates. And the sound rose of towers under assault, and the Aetolian elder supplicated him. So when Meleagros was cursed by his mother to kill him, to the gods to kill him, he withdrew from battle. And when he withdrew from battle, the city began to fall. The Curetes began to gain the upper hand. And we are told that the Aetolian elders supplicated him. They sent their nobles, they sent the priests of the gods to bring Meleagros, to persuade Meleagros to come back into battle. They offered him gifts, but Meleagros refused. Meleagros' father, Oeneus, he tried to bring Meleagros into battle. He entreated his son to come back, but he didn't. And then his mother, who had cursed him, she, again and again, we are told, at 584, His honored mother and his sisters entreated him, but he only refused the more. Then his own friends, who were the most honored and dearest of all, entreated him, but even so they could not persuade the heart within Meleagros. Until, as the chamber was under close assault, the courtiers were mounting alone the towers to set fire to the great city. And then at last his wife, the fair-girdled bride, supplicated Meleagros in tears and rehearsed in their numbers before him all the sorrows that come to men when their city is taken. They kill the men, and the fire leaves the city in ashes, and strangers lead the children away and the deep-girdled women. There you get a very concise portrait of the horrors of sacking a city, which is exactly what we have been talking about. Kill the men, rape and enslave the women, take the children as spoils of war if you don't kill the male children, loot the city, burn it. And when Meleagros' wife supplicated him, entreated him, begged him to come into battle, and as the city was on fire, Meleagros came back into battle. The heart, as he listened to all this evil, was stirred within him, and he rose and went and clothed his body in shining armor. So he gave way of his own heart. He gave way and drove back the day of evil from the Aetolians. Yet these no longer would make good their many and gracious gifts. Yet he drove back the evil away from them. So, what is the point of Phoenix's story? Don't be like Meleagros. Don't withdraw from battle in anger, leaving the city and people vulnerable, your compatriots vulnerable, watching them die, watching everything get burned. What is closest to you, watching that get burned. And then when people are begging you, offering you gifts, supplicating you, you refuse everything. But when things have already been, when everything's going to be lost, then you come back. Meleagros came back, but it was too late to receive the gifts. He's implying once again that Agamemnon is offering you gifts, supplications, entreaties. And you're going to have to come back anyway when the ships are burning. Don't be like Meleagros and wait too late. Accept the gifts now when you have the chance. So he says, listen then, at line number 600, do not have such a thought in your mind. Let not the spirit within you turn you that way, dear friend. It would be worse to defend the ships after they are burning. No, with gifts promised, go forth. There you go. With gifts promised, go forth. He implies that Agamemnon is promised gifts. And the ancient Greek word that is used for gifts at 602 is Dora. The Achaeans will honor you as they would an immortal. But if without gifts you go into the fighting where men perish, your honor will no longer be as great, though you drive back the battle. He's pushed very hard in misrepresenting Agamemnon's offer as the kinds of things, offerings that simple mortals make in the face of the gods. But Achilles will not return to battle. Then in answer to him spoke Achilles of the swift feet, Phoenix, my father, aged, illustrious, such honor is a thing I need not. Such honor is a thing I need not. Not honor is a thing I need not, but that kind of honor is a thing I need not. The honor that comes with receiving things from the one who will provide for me. Meleagros, like Achilles, was offered gifts by elders and noblemen, but he, like Achilles, refused these gifts. While Meleagros did eventually return to battle, and Phoinix implies that Achilles will surely have to return to battle, he did so, Phoinix says, but it was too late to receive the gifts. So Phoinix communicates to Achilles, do not be like Meleagros. With gifts promised, go forth. For if without gifts you go into the battle, into the fighting, you won't get the honor that you would have had you come in earlier. But again, Achilles' anger is not calmed. He says, such honor is the thing I need not. It's not that Achilles doesn't desire honor, since it is precisely because he desires honor that he has withdrawn from battle, right? He's not fighting because of honor. What he doesn't desire is the kind of honor that positions him in a dependent position with respect to Agamemnon, the position of being a receiver and not the provider, which, again, he also resents. So Achilles has rejected Axiodora from Odysseus. He's rejected Dora from Phoenix. And though both Odysseus and Phoenix misrepresent Agamemnon's offer of apeiresia poina, which is not Dora, but unlimited ransom, that which you offer in an enemy relation to the one who has taken something from you and holds it hostage, Achilles still rejects both offers. His anger will not be satisfied with any gifts from Agamemnon. He wants Agamemnon to pay for what he did to him. And Achilles kind of threatens Phoenix at the end of this exchange. He says, put away in your thoughts this other thing that I tell you. Stop confusing my heart with lamentations and sorrow for the favor of great Atrides. It does not become you to love this man. For fear you become hateful to me. You turn hateful to me, who loves you. It should be your pride with me to hurt whoever shall hurt me. That, again, expresses the fundamental principle of ancient Greek morality. You help your friends and you harm your enemies. You help your friends and the friends of your friends, and you harm your enemies. And the friends of your enemies and the enemies of your friends. So you can see how quickly Achilles' love for Phoenix can turn into hatred. Very much like what you find in book number 3 with Aphrodite's love for Helen turning into hatred, or Aphrodite threatens that that love will turn into hatred if she doesn't obey and do what she says. So the relation between Phoenix and Achilles has now turned into, or is now expressed as, a relation that is not what you and I would call stable. There is also a competition for honor, a competition for power. And Phoenix has failed in his attempt, and Achilles wants Phoenix to know that if he sides with his enemy, he will become his enemy. There is only one opportunity left for the embassy to persuade Achilles to return to battle. He tells Phoenix to stay with him, to sleep in his camp. And he says that we will decide tomorrow, as dawn shows, this is about 6:17, whether to go back home again or else to remain here. So now we see that he's not necessarily going to go back home. In fact, he never does. Aias's approach is unbelievably interesting. He has watched what has happened. He has watched Achilles reject Odysseus's presentation of Agamemnon's offer as Dora, Axiodora. He has watched Achilles reject Phoenix's maybe emotional presentation of Agamemnon's offer as Dora. And now he is not going to present Agamemnon's offer as Dora. This is the last opportunity. This is what Aias says. So first of all, it's important to see that Aias initially doesn't even speak directly to Achilles. He speaks to his men, the other emissaries, and tells them that we need to go. There's no point in waiting. Aias the godlike saw it. Saw what? Okay. So this is the moment when when a shelter is being prepared for Phoinix. Aias sees this. He sees that that Achilles is basically preparing Phoinix for bed. So he turns to Odysseus. I guess not to Phoinix, but to Odysseus. Aias the godlike saw what was happening with Phoinix, and now spoke his word among them. Son of Laertes and seed of Zeus, resourceful Odysseus, let us go. Seed of Zeus means that Odysseus is a descendant of Zeus. The genealogy is often like that with heroes, with the great heroes. They will ultimately have their ancestry connecting with a god of some kind. I think that nothing will be accomplished by argument on this errand. It is best to go back quickly and tell the story, though it is not good to the Danaans, who sit there waiting for us to come back, seeing that Achilles has made savage the proud-hearted spirit within his body. He is hard, and does not remember that friend's affection wherein we honored him by the ships far beyond all others. Pitiless. And yet, a man takes from his brother's slayer the blood price, or the price for a child who was killed. And the guilty one, when he is largely repaid, stays still in the country, and the injured man's heart is curbed, and his pride, and his anger when he has taken the price. But the gods put in your breast a spirit not to be placated, bad, for the sake of one single girl. What does that mean? He tells Achilles, whether he's speaking to him directly or not, initially he's speaking to Odysseus, then eventually he speaks to Achilles, because he says the gods have put in your heart a breast not to be placated. A spirit not to be placated. What Aias is saying is that when a man loses a child or a brother, when his brother or child is killed, that man accepts a blood price as payment for his loss. It allows the murderer to stay in the country without fear that revenge will be taken upon him. And the anger of the heart of the one who has lost his child or his brother is appeased, mollified. So Aias says And yet a man takes from his brother's slayer the blood price. The ancient Greek word for blood price that has been translated as blood price is poine. And poine literally means penalty, reparation, or repayment. So Aias says a man accepts the penalty payment, he accepts the reparation or the attempt at reparation, he accepts the payment, the repayment from the killer to atone for, to compensate for the wrong that he did. And the guilty one, when he is largely repaid, stays still in the country, and the injured man's heart is curbed, and his pride and his anger, when he has taken the poine, when he has taken the price. Price is a translation of the ancient Greek word poine, reparation, repayment, penalty payment. This is what happens in the world. This is what Aias is saying. I'm going to repeat. And yet a man takes from his brother's slayer the poine, the reparation, the repayment, the penalty payment, or the poine, the penalty, reparation, repayment for a child who was killed, and the guilty one, when he is largely repaid, stays still in the country, and the injured man's heart is curbed in his pride and his anger when he has taken the poine, the penalty payment, the repayment, the reparation payment. But you have a breast that cannot be placated, that cannot be appeased, that cannot be softened, that cannot be satisfied, all for the sake of one single girl. What is he implying about Agamemnon? He is implying about Agamemnon that Agamemnon's offer of aparesia poina, unlimited ransom, is reparation. That Agamemnon is offering you a blood price for the wrong that he did. He knows that he did wrong. And this is his attempt to repair that wrong, to pay you the penalty that is right. Agamemnon never said that he did wrong, that he is responsible, that he is at fault, that he is guilty, because he's not. From his point of view and in the logic of the text, there's no evidence that he is wrong. Why would he be wrong? From whose point of view? Only from the point of view of Achilles, who shares the same values as Agamemnon, and who does what Agamemnon does in taking revenge when he is dishonored. And really that applies to every single hero. They take revenge when they are dishonored, which is what Achilles does. And Agamemnon's reparation was the war prize of an elite soldier, like Achilles. Well, Aias has misrepresented Agamemnon's offer. Agamemnon never offered poine. And it's the third and last attempt that the Achaeans have made, the Achaean embassy has made. Having witnessed both Odysseus and Phoinix fail in their attempts to persuade Achilles to return to battle in exchange for Agamemnon's gifts, Dora, Aias, son of Telamon, he deploys a different tactical strategy. Yes, he too misrepresents Agamemnon's offer of apoina, which is ransom, but he does not present it as Dora like Odysseus and Phoinix, as gifts. He represents Agamemnon's offer of apoina as poine, a word again that means repayment, penalty, or reparation for a loss for which Agamemnon is responsible. Aias says, again, a man takes from his brother's slayer the blood price, the poine, or the price, the poine, for a child who was killed. And the guilty one, when he is largely repaid, stays still in the country, and the injured man's heart is curbed, and his pride and his anger, when he has taken the poine, the price. But the gods put in your breast a spirit not to be placated bad for the sake of one single girl. So in this passage, Aias tells Achilles that even when a man's brother or child is killed, that man who has suffered injury accepts a blood price. He accepts a payment, a penalty payment, a reparation from the killer. That's good for both parties. The killer, when he pays the poine, he does not have to flee from his country, which is one of the worst things that can happen. Exile, it's not like you're going from Toronto to Edmonton, where there is a commonality in how you are received. In the ancient world, you are going to a different place where you might be received very badly. You are a foreigner, you are an alien. And today, in this world of globalization, you can take a plane and you can go anywhere and you'll be received anywhere because there are values that are common everywhere. The values of what a human being is and how a human being ought to be regarded, respected. It's not like that in the ancient Greek world. So exile was the worst thing. The killer, when he has paid the blood price, he doesn't have to go into exile. And the man, when he has lost a brother or a child, he receives compensation from the killer and his anger is curbed. So in a final desperate effort to persuade Achilles to return to battle, the Telamonian Aias, the last of the emissaries to speak, has framed Agamemnon's offer of unlimited ransom as reparation, as though Agamemnon concedes that he is guilty and that he owes Achilles repayment for the wrong that he, Agamemnon, has done. Agamemnon has never said that. He has never implied that. He has never paid any penalty to Achilles. Well, Achilles' response to Aias is actually very, very, very striking, almost as striking as Aias's misrepresentation. So Aias continues, actually, before Achilles speaks. Aias says at 638, yet now we offer you 7, so you're not to be placated for the sake of one single girl, yet now we offer you 7 surpassingly lovely and much beside these. Now make gracious the spirit within you, respect your own house. See, we are under the same roof with you. From the multitude of the Danaans, we who desire beyond all others to have your honor and love out of all the Achaeans. Then in answer to him spoke Achilles of the swift feet, son of Telamon, seed of Zeus. He too is a descendant of the king of the gods. Aias, lord of the people, all that you have said seems spoken after my own mind. All that you have said seems spoken after my own mind. That means you have said what I was thinking. Yes, Agamemnon does owe me. Yes, Agamemnon has wronged me. Yes, Agamemnon must pay for what he did to me. I agree with you. Aias seems to have connected at a level that Odysseus and Phoinix could not. He's touched Achilles' heartstrings in ways that Odysseus and Phoinix had not. But Achilles says, still the heart in me swells up in anger when I remember the disgrace that he wrought upon me before the Argives, the son of Atreus, as if I were some dishonored vagabond, a homeless person, a wanderer, an itinerant. Do you then go back to him and take him this message that I shall not think again of the bloody fighting until such time as the son of wise Priam, Hector the brilliant, comes all the way to the ships of the Myrmidons, not to the Achaean ships, but to the ships of the Myrmidons. And their shelters. Slaughtering the Argives, and shall darken with fire our vessels. But around my own shelter, I think, and beside my black ship, Hector will be held, though he be very hungry for battle. Notice how he still wants the Achaeans slaughtered. He does not say slaughtering the Argives, except for you, Aias, and you, Odysseus. He doesn't make any exceptions here. These are the men, he said, whom he loved best, whom he loves best. These are the dearest of the Achaeans, but not as dear as his own honor. Phoinix is going to sleep in Achilles' camp. He is going to be left behind. And the embassy has failed in its mission to bring Achilles into battle. My name is Mohammed Kimji. If you would be interested in keeping in touch, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thank you for your attention.